In Shani of this week's parsha, we learn a lot of dinim of nezikin. And one of the halachos which is taught is that if one punctures, if one removes the eye of their slave, then the slave goes free. The purpose, of course, is meant to make it easier upon the slave, that they no longer have to live as an eved in that capacity. However, the Baal Torah Tamima, in his Sefer on Chomesh Tosefes Bracha, asks a fascinating question because he says, according to one opinion in the Gemara in Gittin, going free for an Eved is actually chov hula, is actually a disadvantage. Why? Because if that Eved is, let's say, a Kohen, then if the Eved is the Eved of a Kohen, then they are no longer able to eat truma, which they were able to while being an Eved. If the Eved was an Eved of a Yisrael, so now they no longer can marry a Shivcha Kananis, which they could have while they were an Eved. They could only marry a Bas Chorin, which the Gemara explains that there are certain elements. It was a little easier to find a shidduch if you could marry a shivcha kananis rather than only a bas chorin of a bas Yisrael. And so there are certain elements apparently that it actually is more beneficial to be an eved. So going free, according to this, would actually be a chov, a disadvantage. So asks the Tosefes bracha, this is adding more pain to the pain that already existed, that because now the eye was punctured, so we're going to allow them to go free and experience even more pain. That seems rather strange. So when he explains as follows, he says that no, really becoming a ben chorin is a tremendous advantage because yes, maybe it is easier, for example, to find a shidduch as a shivcha kananis, but the elements, the quality over the quantity, to be able to find a shidduch, to find someone who they can marry, who is a tsenua, who lives a life of Torah, even if that comes with a greater effort or a greater patience. And similarly, the Tosefes Bracha explains multiple elements, that the element that when an Eved goes free, it functions, even if on the surface it appears as a chov, it is all truly a zechus, it is a zachin l'adam shalom idaito, that if we look at the deeper understanding, it is actually a zechus for that particular situation, and therefore it is not adding tsar to the tsar, but it is actually a zechus because of the fact primarily that living a life of tznius, living a life of kedusha, living a life of independent bechira and kedusha in that realm is a greater zechus even if it is harder, which of course is true for each and every one of us, that sometimes it's easier to live a life on the surface, to live a life where we don't have to work for that kedusha. But that is not called a chov, that extra work that we have to do to attain that kedusha. That is the schus for us. That is a tremendous opportunity that each and every one of us have. And that's something that we can learn from the Torah's ruling, that when an eye of an Eved is punctured, that Eved gets to go free.